Welcome to the Nonprofit Report, your update on nonprofit organizations, issues, and leaders. I'm your host, Mark Oppenheim, and today I am so delighted to have with us the leadership of Houston's Theater Under the Stars, including Dan Knechtges, Artistic Director, Hillary Hart, Executive Director, and Frank Jones, Board Member. Welcome to you all. I'm so happy to have you here, and we're just going to get right into it. We're going to go to Frank. Usually we go over to the artistic director or the executive director, but Frank, I just would love to have you recount how you got involved, because we chatted about this a little bit before the show, about your daughter bringing you into Theater Under the Stars. So could you just talk a little bit about how you ended up creating a connection for yourself, for your family, and what the significance of Theater Under the Stars is as a business leader, as a community leader, for the city of Houston?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. Our daughter, I think she was in the fifth grade when she heard about the Theater Under the Stars summer program. So we enrolled her in a summer camp. She fell in love with the academy, applied, and fortunately for us, she got accepted. So that was really our introduction into Theater Under the Stars and musical theater. We weren't big musical or performing arts people. We were more museum type people. So she really introduced us to the company and the genre. And it's been a fantastic ride for us. We've been involved, yes, Hillary, 12 or 14 years now for me since then. But, the experience for our family has been profound. Our daughter is now a practicing attorney, and we feel very confident in a lot of the skills that she exhibits now and has grown into were helped where she was helped develop those at TUTS. The lack of stage fright, the confidence in talking in front of a crowd, the experience of failing and having to recover when you don't make a show or something goes wrong and you don't get your way, and how you recover from all of that. She learned a lot of those skills being at the Theater Under the Stars. And, I was fortunate enough to be invited to the board of directors shortly after that. And, my understanding not only of what we put on the stage, but how that all comes together started to grow. And quite frankly, it's still growing. I learn something every time I sit down with Dan and Hillary about the business of theater and how it all comes together. But it's really easy for me to see why these kind of live performances are important, not only for me and my family, but for the city itself. It's kind of a connective tissue. We learned during COVID what happens when people are isolated. We lose the social contract. We don't look out for each other anymore. And this gives us an opportunity to get together and have fun. And I tell you one thing, I'm still not a big performing arts person. I can't sit through the ballet or the opera.
We're not going to see you in a tutu anytime soon.
No. But I tell you, musical theater is just different. We loud, we dance, we cry, we sing along. It's just a different environment. And that's what makes it special. And I think that's what makes us so attractive to the overall community is it is a place to go and have some fun. You don't have to dress up and sit on your hands and be quiet. It's a place where you can go and experience and share the joy with the folks that are on the stage. And it's truly special.
So, Dan, could you talk a little bit about that conversion, which really is part of what your art is about? It's about engaging all these different folks, right? We all come from different places. We all come from different backgrounds. We have different sensibilities, but they're going to come into the theater, or they're going to participate in a program like Frank described for his daughter, and everybody now comes together and they're dealing with each other, and there's joy and there's laughter, there's a little bit of embarrassment, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of the art or the wonder of the art that you present?
Well, and I think it goes all the way back to the Greeks, where they did not have church per se. They had theater, and theater was a religious experience, as it is for many in the musical theater space, of which we are. And just to clarify one thing for all of the viewers, TUTS is very unique in that it's not only has the main stage, it does have two schools and a vibrant community engagement. So we kind of say when all four of those meet in the middle, that's theater under the stars. And a lot of theaters don't have that. And I think that might be the special sauce that you're talking about when audiences are not familiar so much with being in a performing arts space, that musical theater is the gateway drug to the performing arts of you're able to have dance, opera, drama, comedy, student performers even. And then now we've incorporated circus, we've incorporated stand-up comedy. It's all of those art forms into one thing. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people love tapas and love a smorgasbord. And I kind of say musical theater is that smorgasbord of you get a little bit of this, you get a little bit of that, you get a lot of this sometimes, and you leave fully satiated as a human being. So we are lucky at Theater Under the Stars that we're able to do that. So the conversion usually is not too hard for us, I would have to say, of certainly people who, like Frank, are not accustomed to coming to performing arts or turned on by coming to performing arts. Musical theater allows that to happen, especially at all age levels. One thing that I've learned in my time here, I came from New York, and I'm very uppity about my art, even though musical theater is came from the masses. I'm from New York and I think this. I've learned that many in our audiences want to go to challenging musical theater, but they also want options that they can bring their entire family and not be too embarrassed in front of them, but also celebrate something too. So I really admire that about Houston, is that there's a lot. The audience is so vast, and we try to service all of them, at least at different points in the season.
So we'll come back to that portfolio of presentations, but I'd like to pick up on something that Frank said and also that Dan referred to. You've got a business to run, don't you, Hillary?
Indeed, we do. Theater is big business, for sure.
So as you're trying to serve all these different audiences that Dan was referring to, how do you take a look at that audience and work with Dan as you're deciding on not only what is going to be presented in a year, during your various seasons, but also to ensure that people are coming through the door, that they're paying for tickets, that they're participating in your programs? How are you knitting that all together and ensuring, and we're going to come back to what's going on in the arts sector in a bit, but just to sort of hold this thought, ensuring that the books balance, that you're able to retain the right staffing mix, and that people go away thinking, oh, I've got to go back.
Well, I think what Dan was alluding to, and I think, to echo his sentiment, we are incredibly lucky in Houston. We have a very sophisticated audience base. They are subtle, they are nuanced, they are dynamic. And so it actually makes our jobs, in my opinion, Dan probably disagrees because he labors over season selection every year. But it actually, I think, makes our jobs a little bit easier because there is such diversity and such variety and appetite. And so it allows us to approach season planning from a holistic perspective, as opposed to, feeling like we can only program under one channel or one type or archetype of programming. And so, I view my job as doing my utmost to make Dan look good. And so he's the visionary in terms of what happens on our stages and in our programming and in our classrooms. And so to be able to support that, we have very robust conversations. We'll start programming conversations and planning 18 to 24 months in advance of a season. We're looking at title selection. We're looking at dates and how it flows. We're looking at, are we telling, our main stage season is 6 productions? Are we telling 6 independent stories? Is there a through line through that? How are we? And then that ultimately leads into those things like marketing efforts and fundraising, and who are we going to go to in order to support the work that we do? And so yeah, it is a robust process that we go through. It's very rigorous. And ultimately we end up, I am a fiscal conservative. I'm pretty liberal in every other area of my life, but when it comes to money, I am a fiscal conservative. And so I can't remember who said it, but where art and commerce meet is an ugly place sometimes. And so there are definitely moments where Dan and I will lock ourselves in a room and just say, okay, no, really, how are we going to make this? How are we going to make this work? But I think the thing that has made us successful the way that we have been is that he and I, one, have a very healthy respect for each other and the role that we play with each other, and then how that can influence the staff at large, and certainly how it informs and influences our stakeholders like Frank and our other board members and our community and our patrons. And so we're able to have what I guess Brene Brown calls rumbles. We're able to have those in a very healthy way and come to eventually, because we're outcome-based thinkers. It's my process may be very different from his, but the outcome is the same. And we understand that the outcome is that we are here to be in service to our community, and provide opportunity for them.
Well, the dynamic tension is so very important, and the arts do have a huge impact. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about why Theater Under the Stars needs to have public support, business support, because Houston's got a pretty huge hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels. You've got a huge art sector. You have people who enliven the city. Talk a little bit about how you all see the role of the arts in making Houston Houston. Because if we let's envision, for example, Frank, a world where all of these institutions, all these arts institutions, just disappeared. Means you wouldn't have to spend any money on them, right? But would that still be Houston, Frank?
I don't think it would be Houston, and I think we kind of look at this all as this kind of this economic ecosystem downtown. I mean, if the lights go off at 5 o'clock downtown, it doesn't help anybody. So if you've got restaurants down there, you have bars down there, you have hotels, every event night that we come up with keeps Houston growing and being a world-class city. So if you take away the theater district, you got a substantial part of the central business district that's dark at 5 o'clock. I mean, that just doesn't help anybody. So the idea that we have the activity in the theater district, it drives the restaurant business. It drives the bar business. You have people coming in town and spending the weekend because they want to go to a show or a series of shows in the district. It all kind of comes together. So if you take that away, as Hillary said, you're talking about, almost $1.5 billion in economic benefit just because these institutions are here. It's impactful if they're not.
Plus the impact on families, right, Dan? When I was coming up, right, art was kind of a little segmented to everything. Now, oh my goodness, I mean, these little devices, you can see live performances, you can see all these magnificent actors, you get music from around the world. It's just totally different, right? This is not the New York where, it's Broadway and everything else. This is really an international world. And does that change how you interact with your audiences and the artists? Is there greater sophistication now?
I don't know if I would say sophistication so much as I would say exposure to trends exposure
options, right?
to options. I also think in the world there is a perception now that there are no critics except myself, meaning me as a member of society. So in the old days, a great review, this is true in really true in New York. If there was a great review in the New York Times, man, you were made for at least throughout the season. And I know that that played out here in Houston as well. In the old days, if you got a great review in the Chronicle or even one of the smaller periodicals, you were good. You sold out your run and you did a good job. And that is now not the case. And in many ways, everybody is a critic. You know, the axiom came true with that everyone's a critic. Well, now everyone really is a critic because you're going online on YouTube, on Instagram, and giving your opinions. But not only are you the active critic, you are the recipient of that criticism as well. And so you are actively looking at social media to see if other people liked it. Did my friends like it? Did this influencer who I follow like it as well? I still believe, and I don't have data to back this up, but I do think the best way of interacting is talking about it one-on-one or within a group live rather than social media. I think the social media part of it is a supportive tool, a very, very powerful supportive tool. But the actual best thing in converting people into actually buying a ticket, then being a subscriber, then being a donor is the one-on-one live component. There's nothing that replaces it. I sort of say my charms, my voodoo does not work over Zoom. It only works live where I'm able to talk passionately about the art and why it's important that you should come see White Christmas and experience it with your neighbors. It is an American religion, if you will, that show. So I do think that that conversation between myself as the head of the organization or the face of the organization in that regard needs to be one-on-one. And the social media part of it that has exposed our audiences to that is a supportive tool. But the main thing has to be live, like our art.
How do you invest, Hillary, in the social media interactions? Because it's really a money pit, right? You can spend an infinite amount of money on social media stuff, and then it could divert from the live performance and the live character that Dan was talking about. How do you balance that?
Well, I mean, I think this is going to sound probably obvious to everyone, but it's strategic investment. It's not just a spatter spray or scatter spray.
It's return on it. When you say strategic, you're saying you're measuring your return. Like if you're going to invest in that, you're going to invest on it based on the anticipated return, and then you're going to watch whether that return materializes and you adjust. That's what you're...
I think that's true, but I also think that some of the metrics that we set initially have to do with some predictive behavior modeling, but also, not for nothing. And to kind of echo what Dan said, I'm going to deviate for just 1 second and just say that this thing is an electronic leash, and while it has opened up opportunities worldwide for us to connect with each other, to consume content with each other or solo, while it has broadened our spectrum of access, there are studies that are showing that despite the fact that we have never been more connected as a society, there is a significant increase in loneliness. In fact, Sharon Berkman wrote a book called Creatures of Contact, and it talks about how even though we have access to each other in these electronic formats and access to content, we are creatures of contact. We are genetically predisposed to be together. And so that kind of separation is challenging, and it is actually taking a toll on society, on how our communities come together to support each other.
So in a sense, you're a healing organization, right?
Correct. In so many ways, not just from helping to build. I mean, I talk about bringing seemingly disparate groups of people together, for 2 hours at a time and building community 2 hours in the dark at a time, and how important that is for the work that you do in whatever industry you happen to be in. And so when you talk about investments in digital or social media, you're really talking about strategic investment that's based on humanity, that's based on human stories. I think, anyone, and certainly we have an incredible social media manager here. So don't try to recruit her. I will come at you. But she's incredible. And our communications manager, we have a great team here at TUTS that make things happen, that they keep their eye on what's happening in the broader zeitgeist in order to know what kind of stories are appealing to the people that we serve. How are people choosing to connect with each other over a specific thing? And then finding ways to connect what we do to those people and to their areas of interest. So it's
what you said, the glue of society, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the practicalities. You've produced over 300 musicals throughout your work. And this year's season, I'm going to read it. Dan, jump all over me if I get it wrong. Irving Berlin's White Christmas, $1 Million Quartet, Back to the Future the Musical, Monty Python's Spamalot, Where You're Not Dead Yet, 2026 Tommy Tune Awards Ceremony, which will be fabulous, and Carole King, the great Carole King, beautiful, the Carole King musical. Did I get it right?
And we opened with the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah. That's just amazing. That is a huge season.
Boy, is it.
It's a huge season.
It's huge.
How do you do that?
Well, you just do. I mean, in the theater, it's, you
work hard, right?
You work very hard. Also, Texas, everything's bigger in Texas, and as is the theater. It's very large, but I think, it was based on, as I was saying in our previous conversation, it was based on these civic light operas that, casts of thousands, huge orchestras, large sets, lots of costumes. And, over the years, because of economics on Broadway, which then trickled down to us, shows have gotten smaller and everything. And so I don't know, I kind of think this is just what we do. And if I'm going to work, I might as well work on doing a great show and be very proud of it rather than doing something that's sort of.
Plus, there's something for everyone. Frank, you want to risk giving us your favorite, or are you going to stay ecumenical and just say you love them all?
Well, I think I am going to love them all, and it's going to be hard for me not to gravitate to Spamalot, but I'm going to try to keep an open mind on the rest of them. I think the other interesting thing about what
I need a laugh. So I'm with you.
No, you just it's going to be amazing. But I think the other interesting thing is you talk about our business and how we all interact on this. I mean, selecting that season is a team effort. I mean, Hillary and Dan, these numbers have to work at the end of the day. We are non-profit, but it doesn't mean we're not trying to make money and take care of all these things we do. And they work very hard to present a slate to us that makes economic sense. And, that's not always easy, especially when you self-produce, half of your works. And so, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for the job that our staff does in not only putting on that great art, but making sure it kind of pencils out. Because at the end of the day, if we put on 6 great shows and we're in the red, it's kind of moot. So I think it's all kind of has to come together to make this work.
And Mark, I would just echo what Frank was saying about the season is that, everyone thinks the artistic director gets to pick this season and everything. And I have to admit, maybe I had that a little bit too, but it truly is a team effort. And by team, that also involves the board in that they, not that they know every single show, but they do scrutinize all of those budgets and how we got there and how it's going to impact everything else because, we have to support our staff. We have to make sure, a organization that's been around for 57 years still goes on for another 57 years. And it is a team effort to make sure that all the train is going in the right direction on that. And there is tension around that. But I do think, and I'm sure Frank wouldn't mind me saying, is that there's tension from mine and Hillary's side towards the board and the board towards us. But at the end of the day, I think it's good. We've always, knock on wood, have arrived at a really good place with that. So
this is fabulous. I want to just compliment you all. It is so often one of those things, good governance and the relationship between staff and the relationship between the artistic side and the management side. That being in balance, which is what you're describing here, is so vital to a financially healthy, sustainable organization like this. I just want to compliment you all because it's a rare conversation that we're having. And it's a rare, what you're talking about, there's a lot of nuance behind it. So please, this is just fabulous. I'm very glad that we're able to talk about this in our show. I just want to go through a couple of the other highlights because I don't want to move on without mentioning the Humphrey School of Musical Theater. You have the River, which you've referred to. I'd like to go through each of those, the Tommy Tune Awards and Disney Musicals in School. And then you have all these different programs, Teen Apprenticeship, the Spotlight series, and so on. Can I just throw it open to you all just to give us a sense of that side, the programmatic side of what you're doing? And please, anyone jump in and take it away.
I can jump in on the schools in that we operate two schools that are underneath the TUTS Musical Theater umbrella. One is called the Humphrey School of Musical Theater, where students train in musical theater after school generally. And we have classes all the way, in the summer from very young students all the way up to high school, many of whom go on to careers in musical theater or in theater. But as Frank also mentioned, we have many students who use those skills and go into engineering or go into other professions. So we're very, very proud of that particular school. We also operate a school called The River, which is a school for children with disabilities to express themselves and train in musical theater. We are the only theater in the entire country that has a school that is devoted to students with disabilities. In regards to musical theater, we have a very, very vibrant program at the River, and combined, both of those students, if you're enrolled in those programs, are allowed to audition for the main stage. So not only do they get peer-to-peer learning, but they get peer-to-professional learning, which is crucial in the performing arts, that you're learning from people who are really out there doing it. In White Christmas, for instance, we have students from the River, and we also have students from HSMT. One of the things that we're really, really proud of, and there's tension behind that everywhere, but we come through on the other end, is how to incorporate that within the organization in terms of our inclusivity and our accessibility for people of all abilities, and how to to represent our community on the stage. We're very, very proud of everything that we've accomplished with that, but it is an ongoing process. We just had some today for White Christmas that we're working through some of the thorny issues around it, but it really is, I'm really proud of how the organization has come up with particular those two schools.
So very important, Dan. What you're talking about is an America for everyone, right? And just sort of communicating that. We do a lot of work in the IDD space, and it's a very tough space to be in. It's financially tough, but we must, right? If you have children or relatives or friends who have been intimately affected by this, we must embrace. We must come together, and that's really the story that you're telling. I want to thank you all for helping us understand the wonderful work that you do at Houston Theater Under the Stars. Dan Knechtges, Artistic Director, Hillary Hart, Executive Director, and Frank Jones, Board Member. Thank you so much, and please thank your staff, your board, your supporters, all the performers, the audiences that come. You really have helped us understand how important you are to Houston and to the arts community, and you've also modeled a way of functioning for the sector, which really offers hope to other organizations. Thank you so much for your insights.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. It was fun.